Poštovani gledalci, dobrodošli nazad. Gledate emisiju 7+. Sa mnom večeras uvaženi profesor David Pettigrew. Profesore, već smo razgovarali o ovim brojnim domaćim političkim temama. Sada bih da vrijeme posvetimo onome što smo malo čas kratko pričali, ali sada bih da pričamo detaljnije. Dakle, Omarska, genocid u Srebrenici, dešavanja u Gazi, ali počnimo sa logorom Omarska. 3 mjeseca je bio fabrika smrti te 1992. godine. Dakle, više od 6.000 Bošnjaka i Hrvata je prošlo kroz taj logor, a 700 osoba je ubijeno. 33 godine su otkako je zatvoreno mjesto smrti. Koje su to poruke danas?
Well, I attended the commemoration in Omarska yesterday with many survivors and their family members from around the world. And the evening before, I participated in a walk from Kozarac to Ternopolje with people and family members who had been prisoners in Ternopolje concentration camp. And so the message that I would try to share from that experience is that the people, you know, it's just amazing courage and dedication to the truth, that what happened is not forgotten, and there's a dedication. Reminds me of something that Munira Subasic said at the UN. You know, she said, "We don't want revenge, we want truth. We don't want revenge, we want justice." So in the absence of the ability to install a permanent memorial, say at Ternopolje or at Omarska, they embody the memorial as they attend, and it's a very painful, traumatic. They have great courage because it's re-traumatizing. When survivors speak at Omarska about what happened to them, they can barely talk, and also members of the audience are deeply affected by that. So it was an honor to walk with them and stand with them and to try to express the truth. And that was important. So that's the message I would bring.
I nakon toliko godina i danas svjedočimo negiranju i zločina i genocida u Srebrenici, ali do kada će trajati, evo u ovom slučaju, negiranje zločina i logora Omarska?
Well, I guess the denial will continue as long as we allow it to continue. If there was a greater effort on the part of the Office of the High Representative to establish the memorial, to prosecute genocide denial, and to encourage the production, not the production, the installation of other memorials. The community in Prijedor has been asking for a memorial for children who were murdered for many years, and it's been blocked by the local municipality. So there would be initiatives could be taken in terms of prosecution. I was speaking to local representatives who said that they provided evidence about perpetrators, about instances of hate speech, and there's been no action taken. Mm-hmm. And this is also true in Kalinovic. Some of the perpetrators fled to Serbia. Information is, because they were part of the case, there's information, part of the case that took place in Bosnia in the National Court. There's already a case against them, but the prosecutor's office hasn't had the will to pursue it. So there's levels on which the genocide denial could be addressed to try to bring it under control and eventually eliminate it.
Kako ste sami rekli, i dalje se negira i genocid u Srebrenici. Ni rezolucija usvojena u Ujedinjenim nacijama nije promijenila retoriku vlasti RS-a niti vrha Srbije. Hoće li kada doći do priznanja genocida od strane negatora?
I think in time people will recognize the truth. And in part you could say, they might say, you know, the next generation would say we didn't do it, but it happened. At least they would recognize the truth and empathize with the suffering of the victims. But here the situation would be the same in the same context that I was trying to articulate with respect to Omarska, that the situation has to be addressed I went to Pettigrew, if I say that correctly, yes. Dam with some friends from Connecticut, who's, so one is his brother and the other is his nephew. And we went to pay our respects, to honor his memory and put flowers at the dam where so many were murdered, and there was also a mass grave. But there's no memorial allowed, and this would be something that could be rectified. It could be, it would have meaning to survivors and would honor the memory of the victims. And the same is true at Pilica. We managed to go to Pilica and enter so I could document the current situation. And the building is deteriorating. It has a feeling, a strange feeling, because the walls and the doors are riddled with bullet holes from the moment of the execution. So the reality of the genocide is present, but no memorial has been permitted. And I recall that a team from the Srebrenica Memorial Center was denied access several months ago. And when they asked the mayor for access, the mayor said, you don't need to go there because nothing happened there. So to address, it seems to me that to systematically address denial, someone has to begin to press the case of transitional justice and provide for memorials, establish by virtue of the bond powers, because that would be the only mechanism that would seem to be available in the current cultural situation. That would provide for the right to memorialization at all of these atrocity sites, which are almost always too numerous to mention, but important to remember. Bavrutny Magazine, Partisans Sports Hall in Foča, Vilina Vlas in Visegrad, and also Kravica Warehouse in Bratunac is an example where the local municipality, instead of spending, say, money to support a memorial or a plaque of some kind, they renovated, they changed the facade to destroy the evidence of the shooting that took place there. So, but I think, again, the denial will go on as long as we allow it to go on. And it's important to begin to try to stop it and change the future.
Profesore, dok pričamo o počinjenom genocidu u Bosni i Hercegovini, u ovom momentu dešava se genocid u pojasu Gaze. Užasna je, svakodnevno svjedočimo tim slikama, užasnoj situaciji u pojasu Gaze. Glad hara Gazom, djeca umiru od gladi, nema osnovnih lijekova, nema dakle vode, kao što sam već rekla, niti hrane. Do kada će trajati ovaj genocid na očigled cijelog svijeta?
Well, this is a really, it's a question for humanity, because the situation in Gaza was already a humanitarian crisis by November of 2023, and the South Africa filed its case at the International Court of Justice in December, and by the spring there was a report from 6 law schools and institutes that was supporting the case, South Africa's case, and pointing out the verified numbers of how many people had been killed, how many had been something like 35,000, 77,000 injured, 70% of the homes destroyed. In other words, this is a crisis that's existed now in the eyes, in front of the international community. And when I went to speak at a program at the Swedish Parliament about this, I was speaking about White Armband Day, but they asked me to reflect on what was happening in Gaza, and I said that it's as though Israel has become the destroyer of worlds. The world that once existed had been destroyed, and this was 14 months ago. I was talking about this, and my intuition was to think that it was something that was worse than genocide, if this was even conceptually possible, because of the elimination of the world that people lived in with their lives, their homes, their families, their worship, educational institutions. And so the question is now, can the international community, I think the moral conscience of the world is being activated by images of children and others who are starving. And but the question is, can the UN bring about the steps to end it? It would be something like a ceasefire with humanitarian aid and recognition of a two-state solution. So there'd be a political and diplomatic solution, but someone has to respond to the suffering of the civilians. And the person that only person I can think of who's in that position is the Secretary General of the UN, Guterres. And if I could talk to him, I would say, well, you have to go there. You know, he has to try to use the office and say, I'm going to Gaza, and say, you know, in a sense, declare ceasefire and say, don't stop the bombing because I'm going, and I'm going to guarantee that humanitarian aid will enter. Because I don't, there's other diplomatic leadership that was coming from Macron in France. There was supposed to be a peace conference between Israel and Palestine in June, but it was delayed, diverted, canceled because Israel bombed Iran at the time. So that's why I think that Guterres should go to Gaza.
Spominjete UN i pojedine reakcije određenih europskih zemalja koje su najavile da će priznati Gazu, ali općenito slaba je, blaga, troma reakcija međunarodne zajednice na ova dešavanja i užasnu humanitarnu situaciju u pojasu Gaze. A zbog čega nema konkretnijeg odgovora svjetskih lidera, zvaničnika na genocid u Gazi?
I think that there has been a response. It hasn't been effective. But for example, the case against Israel was brought by South Africa. I thought rather quickly that was important. But I understand what you're saying, and that's why it was somewhat heartening when I heard that France was going to recognize Palestine as a state in September, and also the United Kingdom was talking about that, and Canada. So I thought this was some indication that the international community was recognizing that they have to respond. It's gone on too long, and with the images of you know, children, starving children, it's something that the world can't look away. It has to do something. And I think that it's reached, there was this rhetoric that I never really agreed with or understood, that if you criticized what Israel was doing, you were somehow anti-Semitic. And I think we're at the point where, you know, we have to do something. We have to break the silence. That's an expression that Emir Suljagic used at the UN when he was talking about Srebrenica. And I feel it's so strongly now. We have to break the silence about Gaza, about Palestine, and say to try to save the life of a starving child that has nothing to do with anti-Semitism.
Ali Izrael i dalje raketama ubija civile. Djeca su ubijena jer su došla po vreću brašna, jer su oni i njihova porodica gladni. Ubijali su i civile u Bosni i Hercegovini. Sada ste spomenuli tu konekciju između Gaze i Srebrenice. Muk je i sada međunarodne zajednice, kao što je bio i tada dok se dešavao genocid u Srebrenici. Ko može zaustaviti ovaj genocid i ko može na koncu spasiti Palestince? Evo za kraj ovog razgovora.
I think that the moral conscience of the world is being awakened by what they're seeing in Gaza. And they're no longer satisfied by their responses they're receiving from Israel. So I'm expecting, you know, greater initiatives on the part of the international community to try to save civilians in Gaza, and to try to think about this systematic approach, a vision for the end, which includes the ceasefire, I was talking about adequate humanitarian aid and recognition of Palestinian state, and also accountability, according to which the perpetrators would be subjected to investigations, indictments, and trials. And I think it's fair to say that if war crimes are committed on either side, that those perpetrators would be held accountable, whether it was Israel or whether it was Hamas, in case any of the Hamas leaders are still alive at the end. But that the point is that there would be accountability for war crimes, and this would be the vision that I think that would move towards negotiated ceasefire and the release of hostages on the one hand, if there are hostages in Gaza, and also prisoners, Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons.
Globalno gledajući, mnogi se pitaju, dakle, počeo je taj sukob između Irana i Izraela, prestao je. Zbog čega Izrael toliko insistira na ubijanju civila, dakle, žena, djece u pojasu Gaze? Da li je ovo sada prekretnica za globalni svijet, za globalnu politiku, za neki novi svjetski poredak?
It's a difficult question because it seemed that after the attack by Hamas on October 7th, Israel seemed to lose any sense of rational behavior, proportion, and the attack on Iran seemed ill-advised to me at the time. So I felt like Israel was using the situation, the chaos that they've created on the global scale, to take the opportunity to do something that they've been wanting to do for a long time. And then even the United States became involved by dropping some kind of ordinance, which I'm not really aware of, on the sites where they have some sort of nuclear processing in place. So I think that was just another kind of erratic symptom of the situation that Israel's created in Gaza, and hopefully that minds with reasonable minds will prevail, and will bring the situation under control. I hate to think that the images of the starving children will be what triggers it, but something had to stop it. People had to realize how bad the situation was, and as I was saying earlier, the situation was already bad enough to stop back in November of 2023, and it's just going to take time, finally, to get the apparatus of the international community moving in that direction. Now 147 states have recognized Palestine, approximately, and more will be added. And I think the reason I'm mentioning that is that it seems to me that the regional solution in the short run is to have a just and lasting peace, which would be to recognize the state of Palestine and normalize relations.
Profesore, hvala vam na svim analizama i hvala što ste izdvojili vrijeme da govorite za emisiju 7+ i Hayat TV.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Poštovani gledalci, hvala vama na ukazanom povjerenju. Ostanite dalje uz program Hayat televizije. Doviđenja.